Hi, in this 2 to 5 minute session, I will explain to you about mechanism of evolution. And there are several steps of mechanism of evolution that you might need to understand before we go on to the last topic in the chapter, speciation. As you can see, speciation is located in the very end of the chapter. So first, we're going to talk about random mutation. So evolution starts with random mutation. As you might guess, mutation will create variation. If we have a little mutation in our DNA, the resulting proteins or enzymes might be different because the proteins and enzymes created through the mutated DNA will be different. Surely, we can see variations in each individual in one population. As you recall in the previous chapter, that evolution happens not in individuals, but throughout all of the population. That's first, right? Random mutation will happen through some kind of mutagenesis, through UV radiation, through chemicals, dangerous chemicals in our environment, or maybe sometimes just spontaneously when we do cell division. Mitosis, meiosis can introduce some random mutation, especially when DNA breaks and then it gets replaced, but not with the same base that it originally has. And then the second part, if this mutation gets carried over to the next generation, for instance, in meiosis, and then the meiosis resulting in sex chromosome getting mutated, or maybe the gametes itself are getting mutated, it come into contact with another gamete that might also mutate it. It can give rise to an offspring that has the mutation of the parents also, right? Because the parents has the mutation and it got passed down to its offspring, then the variation persists in the population. Maybe in the first like 2 or 3 generation, the mutation and the variation might not be seen, but over generations upon generations, sometimes it takes a very long time. If we're talking about mammals, for instance, it takes hundreds of billions of years, maybe, for it to grow hair. Originally, mammals don't have hair, right? But in the lens of, let's just say, fruit flies, they only have a time span of a week to live, right? Uh, Evolution is not that long, does not take a very long time because it takes several generations. If the generational time is very short, then we can say that the mutation happening or the variation inherited or the evolution rate is very high. Because if an animal or a plant has a very short uh, lifespan, the mutation rate is very high. Okay, next, this inherited variation surely will result in difference in fitness. There are two types of fitness, right? First is viability, whether this living thing can survive into adulthood or not. If it dies when it's in a very young age, then surely it cannot pass down its mutation or variation to the next offspring because it died early, right? That's the first kind of fitness, the viability. The next type of fitness is actually fertility. How many offspring can this individual in the population can make? If in the population, the mutation introduces a benefit to their fitness, for instance, they can gather food efficiently or they can hide from predators more easily. This mutation that will result in variation also increases their chance to live longer and thus creating more offspring. Thus, the frequency of this mutated gene in the population will increase. Regardless of what will happen in the environment, this surely doesn't have anything to do with evolution, right? But the next step is proved so important in this type of evolution, that is environmental stress. If the difference of fitness in the population um, got a very interesting event, right? Get a shock or get a special treatment from environment. For example, disasters, volcanic explosions, or maybe earthquake, and the environmental stress that resulting from these disasters can naturally select different traits that can help them survive in this harsh environmental condition that they have just suffered, right? This natural selection can occur maybe in several days, but the resulting effects from these disasters can carry over several generations. increasing the probability of these variations and these mutations getting passed down. Since the surviving individuals in the population can survive longer if they have the beneficial mutation, that's beneficial variation, that they have increased fitness than the other individuals in the same population that doesn't have this mutation and variation. That means in the next generation, there are more mutants from the wild types. If we repeat this process over and over hundreds of generations, we will get into a point where speciation can occur. Speciation occurs when this mutant and the wild type is so distinct from each other that we can consider them different species. That's how the mechanism of evolution in a very short minute. If you have any question, you can ask after this. In the next meeting, we will discuss more about speciation itself and why the process of speciation can result in so many different species over millennia. Thank you.